Hello, and welcome to Coffee with Ryan, episode number 5. I am recovering from being sick, and I feel much better, so I will try my hand again at doing another episode of this kind of unprompted, go through Twitter, find stuff, talk about it, and also drink coffee at the same time. So, all right. So what I wanted to do today was a little bit different than what I've been doing in the past episodes. I found Benoit here from the Serverless Guru team, who is like putting out tons of content on serverless. He put this "Are you blogging?" post on Twitter, and so in here there's a ton of people that actually posted their blogs, and so I've already gone through and I opened up some links up here that you can see in my Chrome browser. And what I wanted to do is just kind of flip through some of them, and if they look interesting, we'll talk about it. We'll read an article. Maybe we'll go through the article a bit. But that's the structure of today's Coffee with Ryan. And yeah, let's jump in. So first on deck here, we've got serverless.pub. So I saw this one on Twitter. I thought it was very interesting. I like the description down here that says, short stories from around the campfire for a fellow serverless explorer. I think that's a great way to say it, and they have a newsletter down here too. And it looks like there's a few posts that have been posted up here by, looks like 2 people, Gojko and Slobodan. Hopefully that's close to accurate on the names there. But yeah, let's look at some of the titles here. So we've got migrating to AWS SDK for V3 for JavaScript, how to use source maps in AWS Lambda, verify email domains with Cognito to prevent bad signups, power of serverless GraphQL with AWS AppSync, and you can also see a read time here, so this one's probably a pretty in-depth article for it to be 20 minutes. We have handling webhooks with EventBridge, SAM, and SAR, publishing Lambda layers using serverless application and repository, I'm assuming, S3 or DynamoDB, so a comparison article there, FFmpeg, serverless apps with AWS SAM. Yeah, so these look really great. So there's a ton of stuff in here, as you can already see. And it looks like it said there was a book as well. So let's see what the book looks like. Running serverless real-time GraphQL applications with AppSync. And it's coming in Q3 of 2021. So this is awesome. Look at that. That's a really cool graphic too. Running serverless real-time GraphQL applications with AppSync. So an overview of the book here, since we're already on the page, it looks like there's going to be, excuse me, apologize, AppSync in 5 minutes, so kind of a high-level overview, CDK in 5 minutes, that's cool, so all the CDK stuff, your first AppSync app, so creating everything, a simple GraphQL schema, testing AppSync applications, oh, this is interesting, unit testing VTL templates, that's very interesting. Working with persistent data, so connecting to DynamoDB, working with mutations, single table DynamoDB design, accessing object graphs with GraphQL, performing complex updates, and then they have working with web clients here, so I guess building out the front end, authenticating with Cognito, and there's something here on the hosted UI, real-time updates with GraphQL subscriptions to make that like back and forth connection in real time, connecting to other services using AppSync resolvers, operating AppSync applications, and reference guide. So yeah, that seems like a ton of content. So if you're interested in running serverless real-time GraphQL applications with AppSync, then definitely give this a look. And it looks like you can subscribe here with your email, and they'll probably send out when it's ready. So also want to look at the About page here. So we've got Gojko, who is the author of Humans vs. Computers, Alexander here, who is an AWS Serverless hero and co-author of Serverless Applications of Node.js. And then we have Slobodin, who is the AWS Serverless hero, co-author of Serverless Applications of Node.js, and working on Vacation Tractor. And this one is Serverless Jarvis. Very cool. Working on MindMap and Claudia.js. Yes, this is super cool. So it's got, yeah, they got 3 birds there on a line for the authors of serverless.pub. So let's look at one article and then we can go to another author here. So I'm going to click on the power of serverless GraphQL with AWS AppSync because it's relevant to the book. All right, so first off, I like this image already. I don't even know what it says yet, but I like it. It says, just sent a test push notifications to thousands of customers. Yeah. Yeah, that'll do it. So let's see. So every story needs a hero, but not all the heroes are the same. Some of them have superpowers, and some are just ordinary people. I like it. That's good writing right there. That's awesome. So I'm just going to kind of scroll through just to like save some voice as we keep going. Just use Kubernetes, multi-cloud guru. But our hero doesn't know Kubernetes, so what should they do? I really like the writing style of this. I like the images because it's very engaging. I also I'm a fan of when it's not just purely technical and there's like more of a conversation happening. Excuse me. And so what's very cool here is that it's kind of asking, it's almost like communicating to the reader in a different way. So continuing down the list, we have serverless GraphQL here. One second, actually. All right, back. Sorry about that. Had to cough my throat out. Anyways, let's keep going. So you should try serverless GraphQL. We got a little duck icon here. Thinking about trying serverless GraphQL, which is cool. Then there's kind of a overview here of how it actually connects. So what is HTML? Data apps. Some schema overview. Oh, I really like the GIFs as well. This is really high quality. This is really great. I would highly recommend checking out Serverless Pub. I think this is a really high quality blog, and the fact that the style of it, the writing style, the images, the GIFs, I think it's awesome. It's also something when you're copying code from a blog, it's really important that it comes out somewhat similar to what it would be inside of a text editor, because the people that are reading it, the developers, they need to be able to quickly copy it, and it's sometimes not. It seems like an easy thing to do. Sometimes it's not as easy as it seems. So this is cool. They have this in here. Moving on down, you can kind of see how all this works here. So it looks like, let's read it a little bit. There are many ways to do it. The rubber duck said you can do that manually using familiar serverless services like API Gateway and AWS Lambda, or you can use AWS AppSync. And then what is AWS AppSync? And then gets into that. I really like the writing style. Talks about CDK, gets into observability, talks about like benefits and different authentication that you can do here with AWS AppSync. Let's see. For fine-grained permissions, use resolver mapping template. So it gets into here with if-else statements and checking the context.result here for owner, and if it's equal to the Cognito identity username. When the requests are actually flowing into AppSync using Cognito, it'll pass in an identity. And then what he's doing here is he's basically adding a check statement before this like VTL file runs, and if it equals it, it's returning the result, which is here, and if it's not, then it's returning back unauthorized. And that's really cool. It's very it's more of an advanced topic, and so he's not holding back here from both the storytelling side and then also to the like real world use case of actually using AppSync, which is awesome. Scrolling on down. So we have this vacation tracker. I'm going to open it because I read that in the author section. In the author section, it said that was being used. But this is what it looks like. So you have mutations, subscriptions, and queries from AppSync. You have the flow of different services happening. So you have event storage here, event bridge, business logic with Lambda functions. Awesome. Well, this is great. So based on this, if you are really interested in serverless GraphQL, I would highly recommend the book that they're writing because it seems like it's going to have a good mix of both content and images and good writing style. It won't be. It feels like it won't be like a what is that, like a radio handbook or something, about like every dial that has to be turned, and it's like that thick. Okay. This is a cool looking site already. I like that when I double click on it, it comes out orange too. That's nice. Simple colors, cool design. Oh wow, yeah, trusted by teams from these household brands. Yeah, like Nike, Amazon, American Express, Dell, McDonald's. Simplified leave, tailored notifications. Super cool. That's awesome. And this is apparently built, the backend's built with serverless and AppSync based on what was described here by Slobodin. Okay. All right, so that's Serverless Pub. Definitely a cool one. Now, this one was from Sahil Patel, but there's no post yet, so I'll still leave the link though. Maybe that'll give you, you guys out there, guys and basically everyone, feel encouraged to reach out and try to make this person feel like they should write. If they have stuff to say, people are listening. Randomly, people like me will have a live stream where I'm like looking into it. So, all right. Next up, we have Andrei here. Blogging every weekday. That is a lot. Host of the Anxious Developer podcast, mentor, and creator of React Native Status. So you can subscribe here and see some of the stuff. Immediately, I'm kind of just doing it's not so much like what I'm doing at the moment is I'm almost reviewing some of what I like about these blogs and about how people present themselves. So I'm gonna talk about that as well. It's not gonna be purely serverless. This is coffee with Ryan. These are serverless blogs that have some relation to serverless potentially, but also at the same time, I want this to be valuable to people that are watching. That about like how should you structure your blog or how should you structure things like that. So I'll call that out too. So what we have here is what I really like is this section up here. It's like broken up. It's used an emoji to kind of like break it up as well. It uses bit.ly links, so it's not super long links that makes this section really long. It's not like four lines, it's 2 lines, it's condensed. And so those are all things that you could do as well. You could copy a similar type of format as Andrei here to make sure that you're not overwhelming the reader with very long links, and you're using emojis to kind of make it a little bit more than just text. And also, you have these like break lines here that are separating the text from each other, so it's a little bit easier to read as well. And I'm sure on a mobile experience as well, that's also nice. Other things that I'm seeing here too is the nice cover images. So you can see here, like, turn your dream app into a reality, It's got a nice like UI here, and it's also very clear to read it. And same thing with this one too. It's like nice cover images, and those cover images can do a lot. A lot of times, I'll spend a lot of time on the content, and then on the cover image, less time. But it's important. It's an important aspect. So, so it looks like these articles range from a whole bunch of different things. So like COVID-19 hits us taking a break, feel like not doing anything, some progress on the Trustio app, long time no see. And each one of these are pretty small reads, so like 2 to 3 minutes each one of them. So this feels like a more like he said, writing each weekday. So it's difficult to write an in-depth 9-minute article every single weekday. That's a very hard thing to do. But this kind of like and you can see here that it's a different type of stuff. So you can see 200 views here, 1 view, 37 views, 30 views. So people are still interacting with the content. But let's check out the article itself for the portfolio. I really like this emoji thing. I think this is awesome. So I don't see this on like any sites. So the fact that this is here is super cool because you can hit a unicorn or you can put like a money bag or something, and that's awesome. Also, it's important like to have stuff like this integration for like Twitter. That always seems like a nice one, or like sharing it to make that easier. I like that there's a subscribe thing here right at the top of the article. That's like that's something that we don't have on the Serverless Guru blog, and it's nice because it gives people an option to like, if they like the article and they know they're probably going to subscribe to it, if they have it at the top, they might just put it in there and then just keep reading, versus having it at the bottom where they might stop halfway. They like the content, but they have other stuff to do. And so you give them a chance to kind of jump in early. I like this copy icon thing here too. That's really nice. It makes it really easy to copy this code. As I was talking about in the last one with serverless.pub, you had to manually copy it, but there's other blogs where like the code snippets aren't super great, and so it makes it really difficult to even do that. So let's see. Also, I also really like this Twitter insert thing here. That's like one thing that we've noticed for writing blogs at Serverless Guru is you want to, similar to the Serverless Pub one, you want to have images and GIFs which break up that text. And it's sometimes nice to have stuff like this, like a Twitter post in between it as well, because it makes it a little bit more than just text, right? It's like the usage of emojis, the usage of GIFs or images or a Twitter integration here. All that stuff makes it just gives a little bit more context and makes it easier to read and stuff. So awesome. Well, I'm really impressed by it. It's super clean. There's also like comments down here. I love the UI and how simple it looks. So this is cool. And they're short little articles, so you can kind of get some amount of stuff out of it without overtaxing yourself. So, and it looks like it's proudly part of Hashnode. So another thing there. There's main articles here. Let's check that out real quick. So these are the main articles. So integrating Plaid and a React Native Expo app. Work routine for busy developers. How I made $500 as a mentor. Yeah, so these are super cool. Burnout sucks. Here's how to prevent it. This is great. This is like an all-around serverless blog here, so that's cool. Next up, we have tech with Catalin. So writing about Vue, Node.js, AWS, JavaScript, cloud computing, and software development. Yeah, so once again, I think they're using a similar platform here. Yeah, Hashnode, and it looks really nice. The UI is very nice on this, and they have the similar integrations as well. So if you're thinking about starting a blog, maybe check out what Hashnode is. I'm not actually sure. Track job applications, Notion plus Node, and Fastify.js. Oh, and it says it's a 17-minute read, so that must be also an integration with Hashnode. And there's the emojis stuff too. Yeah, this is really cool. I really like this Hashnode platform if that's what they're using to host it, and it allows you to have like sponsor and all that stuff on it. And it has the text code copy. That's so much functionality. So if you're not familiar with Notion, Notion is like a app that you use. We use it at Serverless Guru as well. And what it allows you to do is that you can create documents really easily and almost in a, if you've ever written blog articles on Medium, it's similar to that format where it's like you can add new pages. They have built-in templates, so you can create CMSs and you can add like Kanban type boards. You can move stuff around, invite people by email address, and it's a very collaborative way. And we use it for like recruiting and all that stuff too. So like whenever we have, like we might do outbound research on people that are doing like serverless development in the industry, and then we'll take that and we'll put it into a like a CMS, content management system inside of Notion, and then we'll basically flush out a whole bunch of details like their location, the skills they have listed on like their LinkedIn, and usually like a lot of times I'll do the research on that, and then I'll put like cards into our CMS that have that flushed out, and then we might then reach out to them at some point already with an idea for what type of project they might fit into, and then they'll say, like maybe they're not going to be looking for a job for like a year or something, and we just, it's just like creating that network effect. And Notion's a very easy way to kind of like move those recruiting cards from both like the research step all the way through to like the code challenge to like hiring and all that stuff. Yeah, I've always liked doing this right here, which I'll call out about Catalin here, is when you're writing articles, this is what I've done. I don't know if this is like how, maybe the context is already there, but I always like to put the like make directory and like CD commands, because when I'm trying to write an article for someone that may be newer, I'm almost trying to also give them that extra context, right? When I made a course, an online course called Zero to Paid Professional at training.serverlessguru.com. And it's like 90 videos, but like what I was trying to do at the very beginning of it is I didn't want to just jump all the way to assuming that everyone knew what they were doing. And I wanted to start manually in the console and then slowly work up. And these type of commands is how I would write articles, because I thought, okay, well, let me give them, yes, I'm going to also show them how to build the Node.js app, but I also want to show them how to do the commands that you would do as a normal developer, right? Everything from like git commits to adding stuff to pushing it to then seeing the result of it, and giving that full experience of stuff. And so I try to do that in the course as well, and it's cool to see that Catalin's doing that here too. Is like he's giving that extra context, which if somebody was following along, they might go like, oh, what does MKDIR mean? And it's another avenue for that person to learn and understand how to really be a software developer, and that's cool. So I'm just kind of scrolling through it, and I'm just going to call out stuff that seems worth calling out. So it looks like, so I didn't actually know this. So if you're working with Notion, like I just said that Serverless Guru works with Notion pretty heavily. The Notion has a Notion HQ/client NPM library, it appears, which allows you to import and then do functionality inside of a Node.js app, which is what Catalin is showing here. And then there's this .env require statement here, because when you have secrets, and I'm sure he talked about this in the article as well, is those secrets, you don't want to have it live inside of your code, because then if you make a mistake and you push it to a public repo or you push it to a private repo, or it's just kind of a bad practice because of security implications there. Even if your repository was private, you still don't want to have that secret key in there, because you don't know who might have access in the future, right? So what you want to do is create that .env file, and he showed that above. So it was up here when he did the touch command. So this touch command creates a file called .env, and then he adds a variable here called Notion token, and then he swaps out the less than sign, your token, with the actual Notion token. And then you can see that inside of the structure here. You can see that .env file. So this will have the secrets in it, and then how does he get that back into the code, right? So he has to use that Notion token to then connect to the Notion NPM library. But to do that, he has to connect the .env file to his Node.js code, and that's what this line does here. Is it's basically defaulting to grabbing the .env file and then injecting the variables inside of that .env file back into the Node.js file so that it can then have access to it. And then from there, he can then reference it saying process.env .notion token. And so it's kind of like you have this line at the very top, and then you have this line underneath it, and then he can access that variable from the .env file. And scrolling on down, this is what I was talking about with the Notion templates. So you can see here, there's like company, position, status, and all this stuff. So he's using it for his own job applications, or maybe just as for other people's job applications. But what's really nice about this is that, you know, this kind of shows some of the functionality of Notion that you get out of the gate. Also down here, you have what's called shared and then private sections. And so this is really nice because I can create a private document and I can work on it myself. And then when I want to share it, it'll then show up here underneath the shared side. And if you're part of a workspace, like at Serverless Guru, we have a workspace for Notion, and then we have all of our company documents and other stuff like that. And then we might have project-related documentation, but it's underneath private, and then it might be shared to like one person or something. So it looks like here you can do notion.databases.list, and there's some output here. That's always nice to have in your articles to show what the output of it is. And there's Fastify being added in. So I kind of want to see what the result is. So I'm just going to keep scrolling down here. Okay, so it looks like we have this function here. It's an async function. It's saying get the data from the DB ID, and it's doing notion.databases.query by database ID, and then getting back data, and then it's doing a map, which is a functional programming way of like looping over stuff. So it says data.results, results is an array, and then .map, and then each result inside of results is a page, and that page appears to have this metadata, and so you can see that here. It has page.id, page.created time, page.last edited time, properties. So there's a way for you to access the properties as well, like company, position, status, and then also grab even more metadata about it, like select name here, and company title, 0, plain text, and rich text here. You can even filter through that too, which is awesome. Okay, so let's see what else happens here. So you can filter, he's doing a filter function here. So this is awesome. So if you do work with Notion and you want to know how that actually works, this is a pretty cool article. I'm definitely, like personally, I'm getting a lot out of this because we use Notion at Serverless Guru, and I didn't know about building a Node.js like script, which could do extra functionality here, which is cool. So we have property company here, and then we say text contains. So it looks like request. Okay, the request is coming into the function .query.company or empty. So it's a way, I guess, for them to filter by the database and then also filter by the company, and then return that back. So you can see here that there's a request being made here. It looks like Insomnia or something, but there's a request being made here, and it has a filter argument in the URL for the API request. And then it has the word company and then equals Notion. And so that would be what's called a query parameter here. And then once he makes this request and hits send into GET request, it then goes to this backend code that we just saw here. And then it basically searches the Notion backend by that company name, Notion. And then it returns back this set of data, ID created, updated, which you can see down here on this side. So that's kind of how that flow works. And then I'm going to keep rolling through it. Yeah, so here's the conclusion of it. Create and update job applications, retrieve all job applications, access only a specific job application, and filter job applications by company name. So what's kind of nice here is that something that happens on the Serverless Guru side is that um, when you actually go to serverlessguru.com/careers, and there's a form, when you submit that form, we have a workflow which sends us an email that has that metadata there, but we don't have what is shown here with Catalin, where he's basically taking what would be just that email, and then he has a Node.js API that's being hit with the information that they filled out, that's then triggering a workflow which creates a Notion ticket automatically. So right now what's happening is that if somebody applied for Serverless Guru, I'll get an email for that, or somebody else on the team will get an email for that, and then we'll take that information and we'll put it into our CMS manually, or we'll put it through Slack manually as well, just to get like team lead feedback on the candidate. Both of those things could be done automatically. So yeah, this is an awesome article. It looks like this is a really good one to follow here. And it looks like they have AWS articles broken up, or they have articles broken up by category here. So this is AWS articles, and there's also Vue articles, and more. So, and then if you're interested in contacting Catalin, here's information here: YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. Sweet. Well, this was a great one. All right, moving on down the list, we got David Krohn here. So, cloud enthusiast focusing on building solutions on AWS. As the cloud evolves every day, I continue to educate myself. Awesome. Hamburg, I believe Hamburg, Germany there. And work as an APN ambassador, AWS DevOps engineer at Global DataNet. Very cool. So it says here, 1 week at Global DataNet as an AWS cloud engineer. And this was April 28th, which is about 1 month ago exactly. So this is dev.to. So you have options when you're writing blogs to host your own, which would be like Catalin here, or to do like a Medium blog, or do dev.to. And there's benefits to using like Medium or dev.to. It all depends on kind of like where you're at in that process. I wouldn't say that the step to writing a blog article is building an entire blog that you host yourself. I think that that's the wrong way to look at it. It's a goal maybe to have, because when you don't want to psych yourself out, right? And so like it's very easy to go like, oh, well, I have to build a website first, and then the company page, and then the social media things for it, and then you never actually wrote an article. And if you're just trying to get your like, you're just trying to focus on the product will be your article itself. And so, in that case, you could make a Medium account or a dev.to account and let them do the marketing and SEO and all that stuff for you automatically. And on the Serverless Guru side, when we had, like, I think I personally wrote like 30 plus 40 articles on Medium. And those articles, and then a whole bunch of other articles from Serverless Guru as well. On Medium, we were getting a lot of views. We were getting like maybe like 20,000 reads a month or something from Medium, and so there is a lot of value in that. But then there's the other side to it as well, which is like if you're going from just being a blog to actually running a business, or if you want to have people like donate, or if you want them to be subscribed to your newsletter specifically, that's where maybe something like the self-hosted option is better. Also, if you ever make a course, because the people that come to your website, you can get more information about them, and they can submit a form, or they could buy your course, or they could buy your book. And so if you're trying to create your own like personal brand that you own and a newsletter that you own, the self-hosted route is pretty good. If you're just looking to get like read and like starting and like building it out, maybe something like a Medium or a dev.to works really well. And some people just stay on Medium. I mean, they started doing a compensation program on Medium, and they probably have one on dev.to as well, where when people read your article, you can actually be compensated for that, similar to like YouTube or something if you made videos. And so every month, you depending on the type of content you write and how many people are reading it and what the SEO does, you can actually get some kickback from Medium. And it's not a lot. I mean, depending on how much, if you're doing it full time and you're writing articles and all that stuff, it might be more. But then you have to kind of make that decision of like, if I have a training course, maybe I want to have people go to my training course and I want to own more of that process, because the amount of money that Medium is going to pay me, it doesn't outweigh the amount of money that I can make from one person buying the course, right? Or maybe if 5 people buy the course per month, and Medium's like, if 5 people buy the course and it's $25, it's $125. If Medium per month is giving me, only $50, then there's a $75 difference there in having people underneath your own branded website. But it does take more time, of course, to set up and stuff. So all just random things to consider in this whole thing. So let's check out one of these articles before we move on. So I'm just gonna leave it here. I love the picture. So this is cool. This is like a behind the scenes look of what it's like for David working as a senior AWS cloud engineer at Global DevNet. And he says he's working on 2 customer projects. And you can kind of see the pup here. Good looking pup. Let me get out of this. There you go. And then it has kind of an idea for what he does on a daily basis. And I think this is a really cool thing. I think this is awesome, because sometimes people are really interested in like, what does it look like behind the scenes, right, of a place? Like, what does it look like for I wrote an article a while back called I think it was like the day in the life of a serverless developer, and I just kind of described what the type of things that you think about as a serverless developer. And I believe I compared like serverless framework versus other like cloud providers or infrastructure as code frameworks. And this is more of like the day-to-day about what it looks like here, which is cool. Highlight of the month. And most important tools and services used this week. Oh, this is cool. He wrote it in JSON. So AWS services, CloudFormation, CloudTrail, etc. Python, Node.js. That's such a software developer way of writing that. It's like, I'm not going to use bullets. I'm going to like write JSON for it, and I'm not going to present the JSON in a way that's like human readable. But that's cool. Yeah. So CFN diagram, Python lint. Yeah, this is super cool. I like that. Cool. All right. Well, this is the David Krohn blog. So all the links will be in the YouTube description. If you're watching on Twitch, you can go over to YouTube. We have a Serverless Guru channel, and all the recordings get posted there. And that's just because the workflow that I have right now with Streamlabs, which is what I'm using to actually record this right now, I haven't enabled the option to store a recorded copy on Twitch. So right now, YouTube is just automatically saving a copy, and then we're just making that public and then adding a description with links and stuff in it. So that's kind of how that works there. All right, here we have Hiro. So Hiro is actually on the Talking Serverless podcast that I co-host, and it was a good episode, and we talked a lot about like entrepreneurship and other things around that. And Hiro's recently started teaching with LinkedIn around AWS and all that stuff. So definitely check out all these things here. Always liked Hiro's blog. So there's a AWS Newbies, which is the website that Hiro made. And the story goes, and this is talked about in the Talking Serverless podcast, is when I was interviewing her, she talked about how this was started based on some challenges with getting an AWS certification, and then not finding resources that were geared towards people that were fresh starting to learn AWS. A lot of them were geared towards people that had already been working in the industry in some capacity. Like, they were geared towards network engineers. And so if you didn't know networking jargon, then it was kind of a gap. It was kind of a challenge there. So that's where this AWS Newbies website came from. And yeah, it's kind of awesome. I would check this out if you're getting started and you're you're looking to learn like what's cloud computing, exam resources, courses and ebooks, all this stuff, this is a good one to look at. Yeah, so I'll let y'all go through and check this out. I'll leave the link in the description as well on this one, and we'll keep going. All right, so Ryan here, a web dev and guitarist who loves JavaScript and TypeScript, always exploring new technologies and solution patterns, and he said he has a soft spot for DevOps, and he's from India, which is cool, full stack developer, awesome. And yeah, let's look. So we have Rust on Lambda using the CDK. That sounds cool. And I love to see this, like recent comments. So this is always nice because what it shows, and there's 78 more comments, is that Ryan is very involved in the community, and that's awesome. So that's really cool to see that he's not only writing stuff and creating content, but also engaging with other people's content, and that's really awesome. So Rust on Lambda using AWS or using the AWS CDK. I actually have never written anything in Rust, so I might slow this video down slightly because I don't know what even Rust looks like. All right, so constructs here. This is a TypeScript file. So it's creating a new Lambda function, and the name is Rust Hello, and it's got a description, it's got code, it's got runtime, handler, and environment, and log retention. The lambda.code from asset, and it has the asset path here, so this must be how you point to Rust code locally for packaging from the CDK. And then there's a Rust setup here, so there's a toml file, okay, which has dependencies required and some metadata. Okay, this looks a lot like Python 3. If y'all are familiar with Python 3, it looks like that, where you basically are just detailing out what the dependencies are. Actually, yeah, I think that's right. My brain switched in between, like, I haven't worked in Python for maybe a few months, so I'm just like, Python 2 versus Python 3 and how that file looked. I can't fully remember. I don't believe that the Python dependency file was JSON. I believe it was a format like this. So yeah, if you're familiar with Python, it's probably like an obvious thing, but for me, my brain's always in Node.js, so it's hard for me to switch back and forth. All right, so we have the Rust file here. I'm assuming is what the .rs is. And so let's see if we can understand how to speak Rust. So this is just what I'm assuming the dependency inserts are. So he's importing Lambda runtime, simple logger, and then, okay, so this async is a syntax there. They did add async to Python 3 as well. There's a library for that. If you're coming from JavaScript background, and you can actually do like async stuff with that type of format in Python. So it looks like arrow function, result error. Okay, I'm assuming that everything inside of here is the business logic. Function main simple logger new. So I believe he imported this, right? So simple logger there. And then it's using dot notation, so he's adding in the level filter. And then I think the log, I want to say the log, like there's logs in Node.js where you can say info or error, so I'm assuming that's what this is. Level filter is info. The level filter could also probably be error as well if I'm just guessing. And then dot initialize, and then unwrap, I'm not sure what that is. And then handler function, handler, lambda runtime, run function, dot await with a question mark. Yeah, it's an interesting syntax. Like, it's very small, right? It gives me like a Python vibe, except it has the curly braces. I would be curious if anybody knows, and has a minute. Like, if you want to post on Twitter, like, what is the difference between, or like not what is the difference, but like, what is the benefit of like Rust versus like Python versus like Node.js in a Lambda environment, right? And it's kind of a Interesting one. Does like Rust faster than Node.js? Is there a huge amount of developers out there that already know Rust? Um, yeah. How does Rust fit in to the AWS Lambda development environment? So it looks like you can use let, which is cool. So let var. So it looks like there's some crossover there. It looks like OK is the way that you actually return stuff in Rust. So what it appears to be doing here, maybe like JSON opposite, like JSON with the exclamation mark there means that it's going to stringify it. I bet that's actually what it does. I bet it does that because that's kind of cool because when you say JSON, you want it to be like maybe like it'll convert a string of JSON back into JSON, like it'll parse it. But then if you put JSON like exclamation mark, maybe that means it'll stringify it. That's kind of cool. Yeah, so it says then create a response via the format exclamation mark macro that creates a string with the values obtained. Okay, so maybe that is what it does. The final line returns a response object via the JSON exclamation macro, which constructs a JSON object from the values we pass to it. Okay. So, okay. Maybe it's not stringify, not sure. Continuing on down, yeah, this is nice. We get we have a bash file here, and it's saying to cd into resources, and then it's using cargo command. So I'm assuming this is something for Rust. So cargo, and then it's building something, and it's for release. So maybe that just grabs the production dependencies or something, and then it gives it a target, which appears to be the path to the, well, it looks like a path to the release folder, and then make directory. I think it's make directory called Lambda, or make directory if it doesn't exist called Lambda, and it uses the -p command to basically create the folder if it's not already there, and then it copies the bootstrap folder into the Lambda folder. Okay, yeah, so the release flag, so that our executable is optimized, and then it copies it into a folder named Lambda. And then this Lambda folder is referenced when creating our Lambda construct. So then we have code lambda.code from asset, and then we can see the path here all the way to the Lambda folder. And then you can run yarn deploy, and you can see the function in the console. That's awesome. Yes, this is really cool. I've never seen a Rust Lambda before, so thanks, Ryan, for writing this article. Super cool. Awesome. Well, there's a ton of stuff on here. Excuse me. There's a ton of stuff on here, so if you're interested in more type of content here, there's like deploy GraphQL API with Prisma, AWS AppSync, Aurora, Serverless, and CDK, caching SSM parameter store values in Lambda. All this is awesome. Cool. All right, let's keep going. Got like 1-2 more. Here we have Rudrakshi. Okay, Rudrakshi. Okay, I think that's probably close, hopefully. I'm a competitive programmer and aspiring to be a full stack web developer. Awesome. From India here, and we have like Linux basics. See, I love stuff like this. So like when you're starting out in programming, articles like this are really awesome because the same thing that we talked about with Hero's blog, where the like AWS newbies and how when you're learning AWS, if you're not already like a network engineer and then they don't explain the jargon, then you're also like having to research every single word that comes up, right? And of course that's a process, right? But it's nice when sometimes people that are learning for the first time also create content, right? Because then it helps other people that are at the same starting point to then understand the concepts and the jargon. And if someone said load balancer or something, right, and then you never heard of a load balancer and you weren't familiar with what that means, then in some of the documentation it might just say load balancer and skip over to the next thing. And so you read it and you go like, okay, well, I think I have an okay understanding of it. But for someone that's just starting, they see load balancer, they have to dive into it and understand it, because the rest of it, there's like an assumption there that you have that knowledge already. And so yeah, kind of all I'm saying there is reiterating what Hiro said in that interview is it's important for people that are starting to like write content and make content as well about what you're learning. And it could even just being hey, when you're learning to get the certification, right? And they talk about load balancer. This is what a load balancer means, and this is why it relates to building applications. And maybe everyone else knew that, but you didn't know that. And so it's an important part to having that overall knowledge of stuff. All right, so getting into one of the articles here, we have Linux basics. And so you can see here a Linux terminal. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of commands and stuff here. So we have like print working directory, we have like the list commands, change directory, remove files. We have the cat, which is going to print out the file. And there's a directory structure here of different things. This is really cool actually, because some stuff like this, like I operate at like a level of like I'm building with the things that I need to know, and sometimes I don't need to know certain things, but then I see them pop up, and then I never really explored it. So already like this thing here is like really helpful, because like what is the let's take one like the /boot, right? Like what is that? The /bin, like what is that? And the /var, and it's kind of nice to get this like just Linux, like just presenting the information, like no assumptions, just like straightforward, and so that you can kind of like learn and understand it. And it's helpful for me as well. Like I've worked with Unix a lot, which is similar to Linux, has like similar commands, but my Linux understanding is like not to the level of it probably could be. Yeah, this is cool too. Like when you see this like -rw and you know you might know it's permissions, but like what does it mean? You know? And so that's awesome. And seeing like the link count, owner, group, amazing, cool. And it looks like some comments too. And this is great. I mean, like people come in and they're like, hey, here's even more commands, you know, to like update the article and make it even better. And that's like everyone collaborating with each other, and that's awesome. So this is the blog here, and I'll have the link in the YouTube description. And then last up, we've got Juan Manuel, Allo, so tech lead, staff software engineer. So let's see what we've got going here. What's all the hype about React server components? So this is an article here on that. Front-end interviews, a tip for watching out for null and default params. Another article on technical interviews, using Z terminal command to help you quickly navigate across directories. Okay, we'll learn from common directories you browse and offer a shortcut. That's awesome. That's a really cool thing. You know, every time that you have to go like, you're never using a folder, but you have to CD through it, and it's like it learns that and then helps you like have a better development development workflow. That's great. Lazy loading images, running a simple server with Python, getting started with React. All right, let's check this one out. Yes, this is cool, because why this is so nice is that it's not just what he thinks about it, but he's also bringing resources that he finds valuable externally back into the article. So you get like thinking in React, which is from reactjs.org here, and then also design principles, which is from reactjs.org, and then different React tutorials here, which he talks about and kind of points out as being helpful. So imagine that you were learning React for the first time. There's no reason that you couldn't also write this same article, right? Or imagine you were learning some other technology. You could write the same article because your learning experience is super critical. Like I have, like my sister does graphic design, and she was working on a program to make like a digital asset, and then the program didn't work properly for what she needed. And so then she went through this process of evaluating all these different tools for doing graphic design with her iPad and the iPencil or whatever it is, iPen. And then that evaluation process of like understanding which one is the best one for an iPad for doing graphics like that, that's so valuable. Because like, you know, if I was ever going to try to do some type of graphic and I needed to know that, then it's like, here's this article that tells me all the different ones based on the person actually doing it, which is different than someone just writing an article for content where they compare different things together, right? Where it's not actually like, I had to get this to work, and so therefore I evaluated each option. That one's going to be a lot better of an article then here is like 4 options because I'm just trying to write an article for the SEO part of it. So anyways, yeah, so super cool. Lots of blogs, lots of cool stuff. There was actually, I believe on Benoit's post here, there was like, gosh, that was like 200 comments or something. So we only scratched the surface here with like these eight authors. There's way more people in here. So you can see there the one that we went through as well with Rudrakshi, and yeah. So, and then there's Juan Manuel. So we got about this far in, which is not all the way through, of course. So yeah, let's go ahead and wrap up there. This is Ryan Jones from Serverless Guru. This was Coffee with Ryan, episode number 5. This time we were going through serverless blogs, and a lot of the content today was mostly centered around what is a good blog and what is not a good blog, or like not what is not a good blog, but like what things can we take away from good blogs and then apply that to our own stuff. And yeah, hopefully that was interesting, and I'll see